All right, we're going to go over the types of faults. So we have normal faults, strike-slip faults, and reverse faults. And a fault is just a point on the Earth's crust that's cracked where movement can occur. So our first fault is a normal fault. Now on a normal fault, the hanging wall slides down the footwall. Now what that means would be if this fault line is our slide, and notice it's at an angle, it's not straight up and down. They generally are at an angle. As the footwall stays still, you're having the hanging wall sliding down. So if you look, you've got a dark area here that lines up with the dark area here. Now this has shifted down the slide, down our diagonal portion, away. So and it's a vertical motion, so it's moving down. And this is caused by tensional force or force pulling it apart, like you would find at a divergent boundary where plates are moving apart. The next fault type is called a reverse fault. And with a reverse fault, you have your hanging wall. It's the exact opposite. So now your hanging wall is going up the footwall. So now if you look at our two dark portions here, you have a dark one here and here, and they're slightly above where they are the other side of the fault. They've been moved up relative to their other layers on the other side. And that, again, is a vertical motion, but now it's caused by compression pushing together the two blocks of material. And that you would find at a convergent plate boundary. So they're often associated with that, especially with continent-to-continent boundaries where you have mountain building. So the continent-to-continent boundary it's called a thrust fault. It thrusts the material upward, and that's just a type of reverse fault. It's being thrusted over top of another piece of material. And the last fault type is called a strike-slip fault. And a strike-slip fault is horizontal motion. We've been talking about a lot of up-down. Well, this one's now moving side by side. So even in the picture, it looks kind of like they're moving. You could imagine the one to my left is moving inside of the computer. This one's coming out of the computer. We generally use an overhead view like this aerial view here. And you can kind of see on this aerial view, this chunk of mountains used to line up with this chunk of mountains. So now they've been moved away from each other. They're sliding past each other. And the force that's at work on these faults is called a shear force. It's shearing past the other ones as it slides by in another direction. This is associated with transform fault boundaries. So with your faults, you've got the shear force with strike-slip. You have compression pushing together a reverse fault. And then normal fault is caused by tension pulling them apart.